We're here at Community Day with Brendan Tully, who is a member of the Yorktown Democratic Committee, and in that role, as well as in his own personal life, worked very closely with Joan Valenstein. So, Brendan, what are your thoughts today about Joan?
It's a catastrophically heartbreaking day. I met Joan Valenstein when I was 15 years old, and I was involved in the student government at the high school, and she was running the consortium. She called me one day and said, "This is Joan Valenstein. I run the consortium. We should talk about doing some programs." And then from that day to the day on Thursday, she never stopped doing that. She did it well before I called. We spoke on the phone, and she just continued. I moved away. The town changed. New people came in. New people. The one steady when I came back to town a few years ago was Joan was still here, and Joan was still working, and Joan was still helping kids, doing the same thing that I did with her in the mid-90s. She was a close personal friend of mine. She was at my wedding. She was one of the pillars of Yorktown. One of the greatest things about Yorktown is the silent service that so many people do. They just quietly help people, and that was typified by Joan. And it is a personal loss for me, and it's a communal loss for our town. And so I'm saying a lot of prayers.
Right. And as are a lot of people. And of course your dad, Andrew Tully, was town justice in Yorktown, so I guess that's one of the ways in which you knew Joan through your father.
I knew not just my father. My mother was involved in the school board as well. And before Community Day happened, I spoke to my father this morning. Before Community Day, there was a predecessor to Community Day, and I think it was in French Hill or Crampon or one of the schools. It was when I was about this big. It was about this big and I was about this wide. And there's a classic picture in our family of my father. I think he was running for office at the time. He was sitting there, and he's sitting there in his lap with me just sitting there. Well, Joan organized that event, and I think Joan and I had taken the picture. And from that, which is the picture that I'll always treasure, is from Joan Valenstein. And just one of the many ways she touched the lives of the almost the 37,000 people that live in Yorktown.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I remember when I first moved to Yorktown, talking about your dad, that is, when I first moved to Yorktown in the early 90s, and I immediately found myself on the board of Yorktown Athletic Club. That's how I met your dad. So please send Judge Tully my regards.
I will indeed.
Yeah. Right.
I will indeed. Right. Quiet service is a wonderful thing.
Right.
So thank you for all you do too.
All right. Thank you, Brendan.
No problem.